Hello, my friends. This is Paul Drockton, and I appreciate all of my music fans out there. And as you already know, I write a lot of my own music. This, of course, includes the lyrics, melody, and of course, I play the acoustic guitar as well. So, and make the videos. So, what you're seeing is all me. And I promised that I would help you to do the same. I know everybody has a song within them. Everyone does, and it's just a matter of getting that song out. It really, really, really is. And that's what I'm here to help you with. All right. So we're going to start today. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, and this probably will be the most important thing that I want you to think about right now. And that is what I want you to do is I want you to forget about what you think everybody knows about you or about your life experiences. Because what you're going to learn from me is they don't. Understand, I've been all over the world, and understand that not only do experiences change from one country to the other, I've been to 54 different countries, but they also change right here in the United States. Uh, go from one state to the other, and you're going to enjoy different types of experiences. For example, if you want to move out to Los Angeles, you will have the experience of spending hours trying to get from one location to the other. On the other hand, if you want to go ahead and move to Montana, uh, you can drive for hours without seeing anybody interfering with your driving. Same thing holds true if you want to drive through the Mojave Desert, which is between California and Nevada. So here's my point: don't assume everybody knows what you know. Get that out of your head. Now, rule number two: get yourself a notebook. All right. I want you to get yourself a notebook, and I want you to write down your experiences. Just think about some of the things that you remember. And it could be from any time in your life. I'm going to tell you a little secret. If you take a look at music nowadays, youth gives you some benefits, all right? It really does. But I think it also can put you at a disadvantage because it's your experience that is going to trigger your creative process, your experiences. See, if you're making music and you don't have a passion for what you're talking about, if you didn't experience it, you're not going to be able to feel it. And so being able to feel it is really important when you want to write great music. Now, anybody, right, can do covers, and covers are good. There's a lot of great music out there. I do them. But if you want to create music and create great music, then it really, really starts off with looking at your own personal experiences, right? And you've got memorable experiences. And I'm going to give you some ideas right here, all right? We assume that everybody else knows that what we eat is it's the same universally. It's not. It's not. You can start with something simple as food, right? For example, here in the United States, right? Um, Depending on where you live in Florida, you've got orange trees. You live up north, you don't. Go down south, you got peaches. Go to Georgia, right? Some areas of the West, southern Utah, you've got peaches, but you know, up north, some places have peaches, but they're nothing like the ones you get down south. These are just some examples, my friends. You can talk about different plants in different areas, right? But don't worry about researching someplace you've never been. Just think about what's around you. Because, see, when you can paint the picture within your music of your experience, it becomes more real to your listeners. See, people listen because they're actually trying to learn. That's really a little secret about music is there to exchange and share knowledge, right? So, moving on. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is other experiences, right? You grew up, you didn't grow up in the same home that I did. My experiences are different than yours. I remember as a kid having to deliver newspapers just to help my family pay the bills. I remember that we were so poor that I had to wear tube socks for gloves. I remember we were so broke that I got one pair of tennis shoes a year. That's it. And then I had galoshes, which were pullover rubber boots. And long story short, I remember being cold a lot, always cold. And of course, during the summer, when I could, I went barefoot. That was my experience. And I remember a lot of other things. Uh, Planting a garden in the backyard, right? I remember raking leaves. I remember using a push mower to cut the grass. I remember uh, a dog, our dog, that was basically one of my friends, right? We had a crazy cat called Titus that would sit in the front window and would wait for a blue jay that came every single day that would fly towards the window and head straight up in front of her to tease her until one day Titus got out and that was the end of that blue jay. I remember Halloween. Halloween was a big deal. The newspaper would put this colored pumpkin inside the middle section. I delivered newspapers, as I told you, to help support our family. I had two paper routes, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And I remember that this section, right, this pumpkin was valuable. People were mad if it was torn, if it wasn't in the paper, if somehow or another it got damaged. I had to go out and give a new paper because everybody cut it out, everybody hung it up. That's what I remember as a kid. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You didn't have my experiences. I did. I remember basically we fought, you know, in the neighborhood, with our fists. We didn't use guns, didn't use knives. It was just a fist fight. When it was over. I remember how we used to get together and play softball. I remember how we used to get together and play football. I remember how the elementary school, when we played softball, you hit it on the roof, you went up and got it. These are just some experiences, my friends. I'm trying to trigger yours. Go back and start from the beginning. Start back at your earliest memories and start writing them down. I'm telling you. Now, you don't have to write about the physical experience. You can write about the feelings associated with that experience. You can write about the people associated with that experience. Again, going back to elementary school, I had some incredible teachers. I mean, they really were incredible. One of my teachers was Miss Weekland. Miss Weekland was just a really super nice lady, just super nice. And that's what I remember about her. The other teacher I had was Mrs. Fox. Mrs. Fox she was overweight, but let me tell you something. She had a reputation for being strict, and a lot of people said she was mean. She wasn't mean. She was a great teacher. Why? Because she would make us, this is in the fifth grade, we had to memorize the preamble to the Constitution. I can still say it. I got it memorized. We had to memorize a good part of the Declaration of Independence. She made us memorize the Star Spangled Banner. You don't get this kind of experiences anymore. And let me tell you, just as you're listening to this video thinking, man, that's pretty different. That's pretty cool. Maybe it isn't cool to you. I'm telling you right now, you're getting an education. And that's really what this is about. Look, my master's degree is in history. And I remember going through political history. I remember going through economic history. I remember going through cultural history. Let me tell you what the best history I really, really enjoyed was oral history. There was a book written by a guy named Studs Terkel, and it was called, it was about the Great Depression. I remember reading that book, and it was just crazy. I never had, I thought we were poor until I read that book. And I read about how farmers would show up at farm auctions and how they would make sure nobody bid on the property that was being sold for back taxes, or they would buy it for $1, give it back to the farmer. Just great stories. How hobos would go door to door. They would look for signs that were scratched into the posts. And they would know whether or not the person there was going to be generous or was going to say no. Whether they could sleep there for the night or whether they had to move on. Whether the person was dangerous or whether the person was actually going to treat them with dignity. Look, these are experiences that are outside of my realm, but I was able to learn about them. Your music needs to do the same thing. You need to teach people, right? Things they don't know. I'll tell you, one of the biggest failures of modern music really is the shallowness of the experiences. Really. I mean, how many times can you hear about you dated somebody, right? They had sex, right? And they broke up. How many songs can you write about that? How many songs can you write about getting drunk? How many songs can you write about um, getting high? How many songs can you write about getting in a fight? These are all superficial experiences. I want to tell you something. Least common denominator. You might be able to draw a crowd, but in the end, it's going to leave you just as empty as your audience because you haven't given them anything. They gave you their time. In many cases, they gave you their money, but what have you given them in return? There's been some great artists, great musicians, great storytellers. I'll give you a couple of examples. I think one of the best storytellers, right? Everybody realizes, uh, probably was, Bob Dylan. Whether you like him or not is irrelevant. He was a storyteller. That's what he did. Peter, Paul, and Mary were storytellers. That's where they started. Simon and Garfunkel, storytellers. Leonard Skinner, storytellers, right? The list goes on and on. And there's modern storytellers. You've got the Goo Goo Dolls. You've got there's just a ton of them, right? So your music, you need to tell a story, not somebody else's story. It has to come from you. It has to be your story. It has to be real. And believe me when I tell you, uh, you're going to have a passion for that story, and you're going to make sure people understand it. You're going to want to make sure that they can feel what you felt, and you're going to be able to convey that because it's your experience, right? Okay, moving on to the next one. You have an option here. You could either, right, be a negative storyteller, talk about failure. How many people need to learn how to fail? I think I figured that out. I know how to fail. I learned how to fail a lot in my life, right? Learning how to fail, it's not a good story. What's a good story is learning how to overcome failure and basically learning how to uh, basically do the best you can with what you got. That's a good story. Now, how do you get there? Look, I don't make it a secret. Look at my music. You know what I am. I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. Uh, One of the things I do that's really important to me is gratitude. One of the things I do is I sit down, and you can do this just as much as I can. Talk to the people in your life and tell them how grateful you are for everything that they do. And don't stop. Don't just do it once. Keep doing it every day, every morning, every afternoon, every night. You're going to be amazed at how good you feel as you share your gratitude. Gratitude, my friends, it is the key to happiness. You want to be happy? You got to be grateful. Think about ingrates. They're miserable, right? A lot of people treat uh, gratitude the same way they treat money. They hoard it. They're just afraid to express any gratitude at all because they think somehow or another the individual is going to disappear or stop giving them, right? See, we operate under the illusion that people will continue to give until we say thank you. That's an illusion. That's a lie. The truth of the matter is, eventually they're going to get discouraged and they're going to move on because there's nothing coming back to them. See, you don't have to give them money. You don't have to give them other things. You don't have to give them anything except thank you. Give them your gratitude. Now, if that holds true for us mortals, how much more does it hold true for us in our relationship with God? I mean, when's the last time you got down on your knees and just gave a prayer of gratitude? 100% gratitude. That's all you do. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. Thank you for this. You know, I'm going to give you an example right now. You ever think about uh, your body? I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful that God let me borrow His materials. He owns all this stuff. I don't own anything. I'm using His stuff. I'm grateful that He is generous enough to let me use His stuff so I can go through this mortal experience, right? Basically, everything you and I do is because of Him. We can't do anything unless He has already given us permission because He's the one that gave us our material possessions. He's the one who gave us our physical body. He's the one who made sure that you were able to develop into the person you are. He cleared that path for you. You realize when you think about it, how many times uh, or how many opportunities have you had in your life for all that to be taken away from you? All of it. So you were left with nothing. And, people think they're left with nothing because of a critical injury. I've had plenty of those. Let me tell you something. There's always something. Even if you just have laying in your bed, you still have something because you have your brain, right? And the mind, of course, it's a universe by itself. You spend all day just pondering, just thinking, right? Now, there's a great book. I really recommend you read it. And it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's about a gentleman uh, who had everything. And then everything was taken away from him. And he was thrown into a Nazi concentration camp. And Viktor Frankl was his name. Viktor Frankl basically, in his book, talks about how he survived not days, not months, but years in this Nazi concentration camp, being physically abused, being beaten, being starved, right? Being cold because they took his clothes. I mean, the list goes on and on. They took everything away from him, everything. They killed his wife. Everything you and I value, they took it all away from him. Now, you would think that this man would be the most miserable creature that ever existed, but the exact opposite is true because the one thing they couldn't take away from him was this. And what he started doing is he started looking back on his life and he started to just focus on the great times he had with his wife, the other great experiences he had in life, and he was grateful. And I know he thanked God for those experiences. And because it's the one thing they can't take away from you. They can't take away those experiences from you. Can they take your memory? Of course. Can they take away your ability to communicate? Of course. But you know what? Those memories are with you literally forever. They can't take it away. So my point is, when you think in terms of music, right? Music really is designed to elevate mankind. It's designed to elevate the individual, right? It really is. Now, some of you I know are looking at this video thinking to yourself, no, it's designed to make money. Okay. If that's all you want out of life, there's a lot easier ways for you to make money. And others will say, well, it's a great way to be somebody. Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret, my friends. You already are somebody. You don't need to be recognized by other people to be somebody. You're somebody to somebody. If you're a child, you're a somebody to your mom and dad. If you're a teenager, you're a somebody to your friends. And your parents. If you are a parent, you're a somebody, right, to a child. You're a somebody to an employer. You're somebody to an employee. Be the best somebody you can to the people that you can touch because there's so many people you can't. You think if you write a great song that you're going to be able to touch everybody, you're not. Great music is designed for individuals that will appreciate your experience. Look at all the great music that's ever been written. Not everybody says, I like Mozart. Not everybody says, I like Schubert. Not everybody says, I like Beethoven, right? There's just a select group of individuals that like those artists. But it's enough. Right? It's enough for them to continue throughout the ages, to create a legacy. And all I'm trying to tell you, if you can get to the point in your life where you're grateful for everything that you have, where you recognize everything you have, right? Where you realize that you really are nothing without God, without His mercy, without His grace. You can get to that point in your life. And if you can get to the point where you can finally recognize that this could all be taken away and it could have been taken away multiple times throughout your life, you get to that point, you're going to start finding yourself in a different mental state. And all of a sudden, you're going to have great song ideas. But those great song ideas are going to come from the gratitude that you feel towards God. You know what? Everything responds differently to you. I don't care whether it's nature. I don't care if it's other people. I don't care if it's your cat. Everything responds different because now all of a sudden you're going to get rid of all that anger, all that hatred, right? It's a waste of energy to write songs where all you're doing is complaining, anger. I can get that, driving on the highway. Just cut somebody off and I can listen to that song all day long, right? My point is, it doesn't add value to society. It doesn't add anything because they've already had that experience. What they need is the experiences they haven't had, and that comes from you. So think about some of the things I just talked about, because that's how we're going to get you going. That's how we're going to get you started. Now I'm going to share a couple other thoughts with you. Anybody that knows the history of music knows that one of the greatest was Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, Bach stated often and publicly that music is designed to glorify God. That was his purpose for writing music, is he wanted music that glorified God. And basically, it does. Now, interestingly enough, if you listen to Bach, right, it's been shown to improve concentration. It's been shown to focus your intelligence, even increase it, believe it or not, because it organizes, right? See, I think of God as a great organizer. He's the creator. He brings things together, right? Think of the other side as the great destroyer, right? It tears things apart. See, music has that power. Music can either bring things together, right? Or it can tear things apart. Now, I believe very strongly that if you can basically learn to appreciate music, good music that brings things together, that's going to come out in your compositions. You don't have to be a guru. You don't have to be a classical pianist. I'm not. I took violin a little bit when I was in elementary school, but I play acoustic guitar. You listen to my songs, but what I do appreciate is I appreciate the spirit of good music, and I try to replicate that spirit. I don't want my problems to come out in my music because you got enough of your own. I'm not here to add to your problems. I'm here to help you solve them, because in the end, we're all in this together. I'm no different than you. I want you to think about one of the first songs I published was The Three-Legged Horse. Remember that? Well, The Three-Legged Horse says that pretty much we're all the same. When I was in South America, I was in Uruguay, in the city of Montevideo, was a horse that was running in the gutter with three legs. And behind him was a pack of dogs. Now, if you know anything about dogs, you know that they love horse meat. And they were following that horse because they saw a meal. That horse, I've never seen terror like I saw on the face of that horse. And I'm telling you, he just kept running because he knew that as soon as he stopped, right, that he was going to be dog meat. So, long story short, that was the inspiration for that song. And I thought about it and I thought, that's what we are. We're all three-legged horses. We're all flawed somehow in one way or another, right? We're all flawed. We're all broken. Just acknowledge it. It's not a big deal. You don't have to be perfect, right? I don't care how good you look. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care about any of that stuff. You are flawed. You are broken. I am flawed. I am broken. I acknowledge it. I know that I'll never be able to complete the puzzle. And that's the song goes on and explains that the horse, right, needs the protection of the master, needs the protection of the savior, right? Because it's the savior that makes that three-legged horse complete. It's the savior that drives those wolves away. It's the savior that basically saves the horses, right? But then it explains that that horse has to first learn how to be humble, regardless of his achievements. See, as human beings, what do? We do something right, and we puff our chests out, and we walk around, and we look at everybody else, and we think, boy, I'm glad I am better than you, don't we? Give me a break. How many celebrities, right, end up with nothing in their lives? Why? Because they never learned the important lesson. You're nothing without him. How many celebrities have figured it out and enjoyed great lives, great relationships, right? But those are the individuals that will tell you to your face, I'm nothing. I am nothing without God. You know what? This body's worth, it's worth about $1. That's how much the raw materials in the human body are worth, about $1. That's it, right? So the point is that the only time that that value can be increased is through the power of God, not through my power. Look, I've been blessed. I've been blessed with a perfect IQ. I mean, I literally have taken plenty of IQ tests where I didn't miss any questions. All right, I'm no better than anybody else in this world. God gave me a tool. And you know what? I use that tool uh, to make money, but I'm going to tell you something. Now I use that tool to make music, to make great music, because I want people to understand it's not me. I don't write that music. I pray. God inspires me. He gives it to me. That music is a gift from Him to be shared with you. I don't take any credit for it. When you can sit down after prayer and you can get lyrics just flowing into your head and the melody just comes, I'm telling you right now, you know it's not you. No matter how smart those tests say I am, I'm not that smart. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not. Because I only have my own experience. I only have my own perspective. I don't have yours, right? You're smarter in the things that you've experienced than I am. But guess who's smarter than all of us? God, right? Now, I'm going to give you another little secret here. And without apology, I'm going to share this with you. You got to get to the point in your life where you realize that you've got to be able to erase the past. You have to be able to do that, or you're just not going to be able to progress because you're going to continually be drawn back to mistaken belief that that mistake is always going to be with you. You got to get rid of that. There's only one way to do that, my friends. Look, I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to do it unabashedly because I told you I am going to help you write great music. I'm also going to help you live a great life. So, first of all, what you need to do is recognize that Jesus Christ was perfect, that He was God with us. That's number one. Jesus Christ is God. The second thing you need to recognize is that He's smarter than you. He's smarter than me. He's smarter than everybody in this world put together. We're nothing compared to Him. Do I think I'm smart? No, I don't. Do men tell me I'm smart? Yes. But want to know something? I know nothing. Why? I can't tell you what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I can't tell you what's going to happen to me 10 years from now. I can't tell you what's going to happen to me 10 seconds from now. You know who can? God. Jesus Christ. Now, here's the thing, and this is the key point, really, of erasing the past, of getting rid of all that bad juju, getting rid of all that bad garbage that you've been dragging around. Number one, the first thing you got to learn how to do is you have to learn how to forgive other people. You got to. It doesn't matter what they did to you. You still got to learn how to forgive them. And you're not going to be able to do that on your own. You're going to have to pray, ask the Lord to help you to forgive. I know you've had some terrible things done to you by some people that really did bad things. I'm not going to justify them. I'm not going to try to change what happened. I'm just simply going to acknowledge it was bad. But here's the thing. I've had a lot of bad things. But in the stories I can tell you, for me, yeah, and maybe you listen to them. I'm not going to waste your time on them, though, because here's the thing. I forgive those people. I forgive them. Some of them was mistakes. Some of it was malice. It doesn't matter. What matters is I forgive them because I don't want to carry that burden with me anymore, number one. Number two, we were told, Jesus Christ told us, look, you want to receive my forgiveness? You've got to forgive everyone else. Jesus Christ said you are commanded to forgive all men. We got to forgive everybody, and I mean it. And it's hard. And it only happens when you pray and you ask the Lord to bless you so that you can forgive. You got to get rid of that anger, my friends. You just got to get it out of your life. It's destructive. Remember I told you there's forces that bring things together and there's forces that pull things apart. Look at the families that are exposed to anger. Look what happens to them. Look at the multi-generational trauma we're seeing. Look at society, right? It falls apart at the seams. If everybody goes around angry, what's it like driving on the highway? What's it like going to the grocery store? What's it like going anywhere, right? When you're dealing with a bunch of angry people. Well, I can't control the crowd, but I can control me. And I made the decision. I'm not going to hate anybody. I'm not going to hold grudges. I'm not looking for revenge. I forgive everyone, and I mean it. Now, when you do that, you can go to the Lord and you can say, I forgive everybody. Will you forgive me? See, there's a little secret, right? God will treat you the same way you treat other people. So if you can get in the habit of making sure that you forgive everyone else, it becomes much easier for God to forgive you. And let me tell you something, when he takes a burden off, it's gone. It's gone. Satan comes around, he'll throw it in your face as much as he can, but you know what? You just keep praying and you're going to realize it truly has been gone. It's gone. It's forgiven. Now, Jesus taught us two other things. He said, bring me a broken heart and a contrite spirit. You know what a broken heart is? A broken heart is you admitting you're broken. That's a broken heart, right? I can tell you, I have a broken heart because I know the truth. I know that, yeah, I was a sinner. I still am. I don't do everything perfect. He did. I don't. And I know that even the smallest sin is enough to stop me from enjoying his friendship. But you can get to the point where his grace and his mercy will overlook your weaknesses, and you'll still be best friends. And he'll still be able to help you and to guide you and to bless you. So, look, I'm giving you some thoughts here. Now, let me give you another thought, something that really, really matters. Stuff. All right? Stuff matters in this world. Even though you don't own any of it, right? You're just borrowing it. It all belongs to him. It all belongs to God. Who's God? Well, we know Jesus Christ is, right? Everything belongs to Jesus Christ. So this world was made by him. I was made. We were all made by Christ. Read John. In the Bible, it says it very clearly there that all things were created by him. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So here we are, literally here because of Jesus Christ, put in a position where we can have happiness because of Jesus Christ, right? And we don't recognize that he owns everything, then we're going to fight for stuff that we're never going to own. That's the stupidest thing you can do with your life. Struggling for something that you never own. You can never own. Never own anything in this life. You know what? This is a big old etch-a-sketch. You can draw the most beautiful picture on an etch-a-sketch, but as soon as you shake that sand around, that image is gone. You know, again, my master's in history, I've been a student of history my whole life. I love everything about understanding the past as much as I can, even though even that's flawed. But think about what we have today, right, that has endured through the ages. What do we have? Well, you got the Great Pyramids, right, that have endured to some degree, right? They're not in the same shape they were when they were built because they were covered in limestone that reflected the sunlight. You got the Sphinx missing part of its nose. That was actually buried in sand. You got the pieces of the Roman Colosseum. I mean, the floor is gone. You can see the basement. I mean, there isn't much out there that's been around that long. Here in the Western Hemisphere, you got Machu Picchu, right? But there again, nothing like its former glory. So all those people that worked some their entire lives to get stuff, they left the earth with nothing. Nothing. They took nothing with them. You know, the pharaohs tried. That's why they built those pyramids, is so they could take their stuff with them. But I'm telling you right now, you don't take any physical stuff with you. You don't need it where you're going because there's better stuff there. This stuff here is just it's educational. That's all it is. We're here to learn. So here's my point. We put too much or place too much value on stuff and not enough value on people. You know, if you're in a position to help somebody, you should do it. Now, I'm not telling you everybody. I'm telling you, this is again a matter of prayer. I always ask before I do. But if you can help somebody and the Lord tells you it's the right thing to do, just do it. Doesn't matter. It's his stuff anyway. You don't think he can replace everything that you give? I'm not telling you to go out and give everything away, but I am telling you that if you can get in the habit of asking him who you should help and what you should help them with and what you can give them, then you're going to get some very clear answers. And now all of a sudden, you're going to become a partner with God. which means that when you go and pray and ask the Lord for what you need, of course, you're going to get it because you don't ignore the pleas of those around you. Look, you want to write great music? Well, I'm teaching you how to do it. Start out, right, by improving your life. Become a great person, become a greater person, become more like the most perfect person that ever lived. That's Jesus Christ. If you can do that, you're never going to get there. I'll never get there, but not in this life anyway, because we're flawed, we're fallen, right? But through His grace and through His mercy, I can be better. And that's all I want. I want to be better. I can't guarantee I will be tomorrow, but I can guarantee I'll try. And the day after that, and over time, as long as you continue to try, He's going to bless you. And He's going to give you more insight. He's going to help you be better. So anyway, this is the first lesson. Now, some of you are going to look back on this and say, I wasted my time, and that's okay. But I don't care. If you listened, this is going to stick with you longer than just today. And you're going to come back to it over and over again because that's what these principles do to you. You're going to think about them over and over and over again. And then you're going to start getting rid of the negative stuff in your life. I'm talking about things that pull you apart, things that pull your relationships apart, things that pull your family apart, things that pull everything apart. You're going to get rid of that stuff. And you're going to start focusing on things that bring things together. See, that's the creator. That's the creative force. That is the power of God. See, God can heal. He can bring things back together that were broken, right? Look at Jesus Christ once again as our example. Restoring sight to the blind, raising the dead, making sure that He comforted widows and orphans, making sure that He fed multitudes with a couple of loaves of bread and a few fishes. See, it all belongs to Him. And He is the great healer. He's the great creator. He's the great organizer. He's the person that can take the chaos in your life and He can bring your whole life, no matter how shattered it is, no matter how broken you think you are, He can bring it back together again. And then you're going to have the power to do the same thing with other people. Now, one of the other teachings, you can't get around this, my friends, it just goes with everything else I'm telling you that Jesus gave us. He said, look, before you start worrying about the mote in your brother's eye, focus on the beam in your own. Ever since I started focusing on the beams in my own eyes, I realized I can't even see the mote in my neighbor's eyes anymore because the beam's in the way. And as soon as you get rid of one beam, there's another one right behind it. They just keep popping up. So we're perpetually blind to our own faults and our own weaknesses. Now, one of the reasons why people like the darkness is because they don't have to look at their weaknesses. They don't have to acknowledge the ugliness that they know is inside. But we have to be willing to turn that light on, to let the Lord turn it on, because He will show you everything you need to know. And as you continue to try to improve yourself, He's going to help you. And I don't care how shattered your life is. I don't care how broken it is. He will help you pull things back together again. And you can have peace. You can have happiness. And you know what? You're going to write great music. I promise you. And you're going to write music that a lot of people in this world need to hear right now. A lot of people need encouragement. A lot of people need to be lifted. A lot of people need to know the way that they should go, the path, right? This is Paul Drockton. This is lesson 1 on how to write great music. God bless my friends and have a great day.